The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar by Roald Dahl. Henry Sugar was once an extremely vain man. He was rich because he had a rich dad who was now dead. He was still single at the age of 41 as he was against the idea of having to share anything with a wife, and he loved gambling. One day, Henry Sugar was forced to stroll aimlessly at his friend's library as it was raining outside heavily, and he got kicked out of the game of canister because the game only allowed 4 people to play, but there were 5 in the house. When he was about to leave, there was a thin book that caught his attention. It was a report of an interview with Imran Khan, the man who could see without his eyes. Imran Khan was an Indian, a Hindu. He came from a poor family and his father worked as a ticket inspector. When Imran Khan was 13 years old, a conjurer known as Professor Moore came to his school to give a performance. Imran Khan thought it was real magic. He was so fascinated by it that he ran away from home, took all his savings with him, and followed his hero. He soon became his assistant and he earned 8 annas a day. And when Imran Khan found out that it was not real magic but quickness of the hand, he decided to pursue the yogi instead as he believed yoga to be real magic. To become yogi's disciple was no easy task. Not only were they extremely rare in India, Imran Khan was not a religious person. He only wanted yoga powers for selfish reasons. There was a saying that if a yogi misuses his powers, he will die an early and sudden death. But Imran Khan did not believe in that. He chose to pursue a yogi called Banerjee as he had heard that he possessed extraordinary powers, and when he prayed, his whole body elevated around 18 inches from the soil. It was extremely difficult to track him down as he was known to travel from one place to another. He was last seen to be staying in a particular jungle. Imran Khan rented a toga, which was a horse and a cart, in order to get there. There was a man close by and told Imran Khan that he too was traveling in that direction. Lucky for him, the man turned out to be Banerjee's disciple who came to visit his master. Imran Khan asked the man whether he could be Banerjee's disciple, but the man looked at him and said it was not possible. Then Imran Khan asked the man several questions, such as what time of day he would commence with his prayer before dropping the man off. Imran Khan then pretended to drive along his journey before he stopped, jumped down and sneaked back along the road, looking for Banerjee's disciple. He was able to hear his movements and followed him carefully. Eventually, he found the place. There was a prayer mat beside a small waterhole. Imran Khan waited for several hours and then Banerjee came. After being absolutely still for 40 minutes, Banerjee's body was slowly lifting until he was 2 feet above the prayer mat. He remained this way in mid-air for 46 minutes. Banerjee then sensed Imran Khan's presence. "How long have you been here? Get out! Get out!" Banerjee angrily picked up a small brick and flung at him. It struck Imran Khan's right leg. Imran Khan ran away for his dear life. Still, he was determined to come back every day until Banerjee had to take him as a disciple, just to get him some peace. For 5 days, Banerjee's anger poured out like a volcano. On his 6th visit, Banerjee was calm and polite. Although he could not take Imran Khan as his disciple, he recommended him to a friend who was also a great yogi who lived in Hardwar. In Hardwar, the yogi made Imran Khan practice the most difficult physical exercise such as muscle control and breathing. Some weeks had passed and the pupil grew impatient as he wished to develop mental powers. If you develop control over your body, controlling your mind will be an automatic thing. No, I want to do both at once. And so the yogi gave him an exercise to train his conscious mind by visualizing an item for 3.5 minutes. When Imran Khan was shocked to hear that it usually took a person 15 years to achieve that, the yogi reassured him that time varies with different people. His brother was one item Imran Khan chose to visualize. After 3 years of training, Imran Khan was able to visualize his brother's face for 1.5 minutes before his mind wandered. He lost his sense of smell in the process. One day in East Bengal, where he gave a conjuring show at college there, Imran Khan was present at a demonstration of walking on fire. He then volunteered to walk on the trench of the white hot charcoal. He applied his concentration powers before walking by visualizing that the charcoal was cold. He was able to walk through the trench without a burnt mark on the soles of his feet. Amir Khan was excited. He felt the power beginning to come to him. He remembered the old yogi of Hardwar had told him that certain holy people have known to develop so great a concentration that they could see without using their eyes. To train his concentration further, he uses a candle. He focused on a black spot in the flame until everything around him disappeared. He then shut his eyes to concentrate on one single object, and that was his brother. He was able to become the man who could see without his eyes. Before his grand performance at the Royal Palace Hall, he asked the doctor at the hospital to bandage his eyes as professional as possible. They did what they were told. They sealed his eyelids using collodion, which can be removed using alcohol. Then they used dough to fill his eye sockets before wrapping around his head with bandages. "Off you go," they said. The Indian got off the bed and walked straight to the door. To their amazement, he was able to open the door and went out. He walked normally along the corridor, avoided a trolley in front of him, and walked downstairs without using the stair rail, and rode a bicycle straight into the bustling, honking traffic of streets beyond with ease. At the Royal Palace Hall, Amir Khan amazed his audience by doing things that were dangerous for people who could not see, such as shooting a bucket on a boy's head and throwing knives at the boy without hurting with great precision while being blindfolded. One of the doctors, known as John Cartwright, saw the show, and he became the one who conducted the interview. He went to pay him a visit again as he saw Amir Khan was a breakthrough in medical science, such as a cure for blindness, but unfortunately, Amir Khan died and the case was closed. "Oh God, I'm gonna do it," said Henry Sugar. He decided to take the book with him. Back home, he decided to use a candle just like what Amir Khan did to train his concentration. He had no brother to visualize, so he chose his face instead. It was the best choice cause that's who he is, a very vain and selfish person. When he focused on the black spot of the candle flame, everything else disappeared. He was able to shut his eyes and visualize his face for 15 minutes. After that, his mind began to wander and he found himself thinking about casinos and how much he would win. He then gave himself a rest. This was his very first effort. He was happy as he felt that he did better than what Amir Khan did on his first try. "I'm gonna do this." Henry at this point showed tremendous amount of patience. He had given up cards, refrained from going to parties and spending time on his rich friends. He was dedicated to a single aim of acquiring yoga powers. At the end of the first year, he actually managed to concentrate on his own face for no less than 5.5 minutes. Henry decided it's time to practice on a pack of cards. He was able to tell that the first card to be 5 of spades in 4 minutes. It took him exactly 3 minutes and 58 seconds to identify the king of diamond, and even took him 4 seconds less to know the next card. Henry kept on practicing and practicing until he could see through them instantly. It took him 3 years and 3 months to be able to read the back of the card for 4 seconds. Now it's time to go to the casino. Once inside, Henry found the appearances of the gamblers rather revolting. That was strange, as he used to treat them as companions. Could it be the work of his yoga powers? He stumbled upon a roulette, and suddenly, perhaps more from habit than anything else, he found himself beginning to concentrate upon it. Only the number 18 was visible in his concentrated mind. He placed a $100 chip on a square marked 18, which was not yet covered by other people's bets. In the end, the ball landed on number 18. They paid Henry 36 to 1. Henry began to feel an extraordinary sense of power. He felt he could break this place if he wanted to. It was a great temptation. It would be the end of everything. He would become famous and would never be allowed into a casino again anywhere in the world. He had the difficulty of keeping his winnings down to a reasonable sum. Every now and then, he would make a silly mistake on purpose and even make a great show of cursing himself aloud. In an hour, Henry had won 6,600 in all. You might think that Henry might die of a sudden death like Amir Khan before him, as he had violated the code of the yogi and had used his powers for personal gain. But no, that was not what happened, and it was nonetheless interesting. When he drove back to his flat, Henry felt something was off. He did not understand why he felt so little excitement about his tremendous success. Instead, he felt melancholy, as it was all too easy for him. There was no thrill. The next morning, he woke up late. He got out of bed and saw the tremendous bundle of 20-pound notes still lying on his dressing table. He did not know why, but he felt an acute revulsion. He went over to the balcony and threw his money out to the streets full of people. "Keep it, it's all yours." The people outside were in a frenzy. And then the doorbell rang. There was a policeman outside. "What the devil do you think you're doing?" "I was just giving away some money." "You are causing a nuisance. You're creating an obstruction. You're blocking the entire street." "Sorry, sir. I will not do that again." "Where exactly do you get those money?" "I won them. I had a lucky night at the casino." "Check it up. They'll tell you it's true." "I believe your story. But that doesn't excuse what you did one little bit." "But I did not do anything wrong." "You are an idiot, an ass, and an imbecile. Why didn't you give it to where it will do some good? To the hospital or an orphanage? There are orphanages all over the country that hardly have enough money to buy kids a present even for Christmas. I was mad because I was brought up in an orphanage, so that's why I know what it's like." The policeman left. The policeman's words and his fury left a great impression on Henry. An orphanage? Why one orphanage? Why not lots of them? There began to come to him the great and marvelous idea that was to change everything. Among his list of plans, he needed someone to help him, a man who would sit at home and take care of all that money. John Winston was decided, as he and Henry were friends for 18 years. He confesses to John about his yoga powers. "Oh gosh, you will be the richest man on earth." "I don't want to be the richest man on earth. Not anymore." Henry told John about his orphanage plan. Seeing his performance in the casino, John agreed. For 7 years it went well. Already, John Winston had 3 orphanages established, one in France, one in England, and the other one in the United States. 5 more were on the way. Then came a bit of a trouble. Although Henry was extremely careful, he impudently took $100,000 from each of the separate 3 casinos owned by the same mob. If it hadn't been for the bellhop's assistance, he would have been done for. He then took an airplane to Los Angeles. In the nearby Hollywood and Beverly Hills where film people lived, Henry found the best makeup man in the business, Max Eagleman. Max was the only second person Henry had told about his secret. "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'll join you, man." From then on, Max Eagleman traveled everywhere with Henry, and he carried with him a trunk full of makeup materials. Henry Sugar died at the age of 63. His work was completed. He had 21 well-established, well-run orphanages scattered about the world, one in each country he visited. All these were administered and financed by John and his staff. Hey, remember to sign up for my website and get some free reviews.